This video is about developing an understanding of the meaning of a midpoint and a segment bisector. So first let's look at number one, use segment addition to solve for x and find AB and AD. So we have two pieces here that we're going to add together for segment addition. 2x plus 4 plus 4x minus 4 is equal to the entire length, which is 24. So I'm going to combine like terms. 2 plus 4 gets us 6x. 4 minus 4 is 0, so I'm just going to say 6x equals 24, and divide both sides by 6, so x is 4. So then I need to find the length of AB, so I'm going to substitute 4 in for x, so 2 times 4 plus 4 is 12, and I'm going to find the length of AD, so 4 times 4 minus 4 is also 12. So this here shows that the segments have the same length. Any type of segment that have the same length are called congruent segments. So congruent segments are segments that have the same length. So if they have the same length, we would say then that segment AB is congruent to segment AD. So let's look at what a midpoint and a bisector are. So a midpoint is a point that divides a segment into two pieces or congruent segments. So if M is the midpoint, we're going to put two tick marks on each line to show that they were bisected. So we would then say that AM is congruent to MB. Divider does the same thing. So a bisector does the same thing. So a bisector is a line segment array that bisects a segment into two pieces or congruent segments. So if AB bisects, or if line L bisects AB at point M, again, we have two congruent pieces, so AM is congruent to MB. So let's use the idea of midpoints and bisectors to solve for some variables. So in number one, M is the midpoint of AB. So we know that this piece is congruent to this. AM is 3x plus 5, and MB is 6x minus 6. Solve for x, find the measure of AM and AB. So to solve for x, if they're congruent pieces, they have the same length. So I don't actually have to know the entire length of my segment. I can just set the pieces equal to each other. So 3x plus 5 is equal to 6x minus 16. So I'm going to get my variable on one side by subtracting 3x from both sides. 5 equals 6x minus 16. And add 16 to both sides, 3x minus 16. I'm going to add 16 to both sides, so 21 is equal to 3x. When I divide, x is 7. So to find AM, it's really easy. I already know what AM is. It's 3x plus 5. So AM equals 3 times 7 plus 5, which is equal to 26. To find AB, I want to know the whole length. Well, I know that AB was split in half. So AB is really equal to 2 times AM, 2 times 26. So AB would be 52. Number 2, M is the midpoint of AB. AM is 2x minus 8. And AB is 3x minus 4. Now remember that this piece was bisected into two congruent parts, which means this is also 2x minus 8. So this time, if I'm given the whole segment, I can't set these pieces equal because they're the same expression. So I need to do 2 times the measure of AM is equal to AB. So 2 times 2x minus 8 is equal to 3x minus 4. So my first step is to distribute. 4x minus 16 equals 3x minus 4. I need to get the variable on one side and the number on the other. So first I'm going to subtract 3x. So x minus 16 is equal to negative 4. And I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So x is 12. Then I need to find the measure of MB. Remember that MB was the other half of our line. So it's also equal to 2 times 12 minus 8, which is 16. Number 3, C is the midpoint of AD, which means that our line is cut into half and half. B is the midpoint of AC. So if we have half a line right here, this new midpoint is cutting our line into a fourth and a fourth. So we know that AB is equal to x plus 2, and AD is 5x minus 2. Solve for x and find BD. So to solve for x, we know that AB is a fourth of the line, which means we need 4 of these pieces to equal the whole line. So we're going to do 4 times the measure of AB is equal to AD. So 4 times x plus 2 equals 5x minus 2. So I'm going to distribute 4x plus 8 equals 5x minus 2. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So 8 equals x minus 2. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So x is 10. Now that I know x, I can find BD. To find BD, the easiest way to do it is find the entire length. So 5 times 10 minus 2 is 48. 10 plus 2 is 12. So I can get BD by subtracting 48 minus the piece I don't want to include, which is 12. So BD has a length of 36. Which of the following are true about the diagram? Circle all true statements. AB is equal to CD. Well, if we notice from our fractions, AB is a fourth, CD is a half. So this is not true. BA is equal to BC. Well, both of those are a fourth, so this has to be a true statement. 2BC is equal to CD. Well, 2/4 make a half, so this is true. 4BC equals AD. BC is a fourth, AD is a whole line, so 4/4 equal a whole. AC is equal to BD. That's true because remember, C was a midpoint of AD. And 4AC is equal to AD is not true because AC again is a half of the line, so 4/2 would be too much. Number 4, draw a diagram showing that R is the midpoint of GH. What conclusions can be drawn? So I'm going to draw a picture of G and H, and R is my midpoint. So the conclusion that we can draw then is that GR is congruent to RH. So next, they give us that RH is 7x plus 9, and that GH is 18x minus 2, which means that this piece, GR, is also 7x plus 9. So to solve for x, 2 times 7x plus 9 is equal to 18x minus 2. I'm going to distribute the 2, so 14x plus 18 equals 18x minus 2. Subtract 14x from both sides. So 18 is equal to 4x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. So 20 is equal to 4x. And divide by 4 on both sides. So x is 5. Number 5, draw a diagram showing that C is the midpoint of DF. So I'm going to draw a picture. Here's segment DF. and C is the midpoint in the middle. So it's bisecting this segment again. This time we know that C is 5x minus 13, and CF is x plus 3. Since those segments are congruent, that means they have the same measure, so we can set them equal to each other. So 5x minus 13 equals x plus 3. We can subtract x from both sides. 4x minus 13 equals 3. And add 13 to both sides. 4x equals 16. And then divide by 4. So x is 4. Given that WTHS, or WT, is congruent to HS, determine if WT is congruent to BD. Show all work and explain your answer. So far, all we know is that WT and WH are congruent. So we're going to set those equal to solve for x, and we're going to ignore BD for now. So we're going to say that WT, because they're congruent, is equal to HS. So 4x plus 10 is equal to 5x minus 3. So when I solve, I subtract 4x from both sides. X minus 3 is equal to 10. Add 3 to both sides. X is 13. Now I need to know if WT is congruent to BD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the measure of WT. 4 times 13 plus 10 is 52 plus 10, which is equal to 62. BD is equal to 3 times 13 plus 23, which is 39 plus 23, which is also 62. So because they have the same measure, they are congruent. So we would say that WT is congruent to BD because they both have the length of 62. Because both segments have the same length of 62.